What's going on, everyone? It's the Double Zero, and as you can tell by the title, we're going to be doing something a little different with this video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite manga currently. I want to specify that this list will most likely change as I continue to read more and more manga as time goes on. Also, please remember that this is just my opinion, and I'm sure most of you will have a different list than mine. When it comes to how I rank this series, it's going to be a fine mix for me between my personal enjoyability of it and the actual quality of the writing, art, and etc. Now, before we start with number 5, if you end up enjoying this video and want more list videos like this, remember to like, comment, and subscribe so I know you enjoy it. Now, let's head into the list. Beginning our list at number 5, we have the newest entry here, and that is Jujutsu Kaizen. Jujutsu Kaizen was something that went from being just enjoyable to me, to now being the go-to manga I'm hyped for and ready to read every week. Speaking of which, I was so excited when the manga finally returned to Jump, and I hope Gege is doing well now. I think the thing that really gravitated me towards the series was the characters, the themes or philosophies associated with them, and of course, the fights. Gege Akutami's style of writing is really cool to me, as he kind of flips many familiar tropes on their head in the series, plus the characters themselves are great. One of the best examples of this is our boy, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer, Gojo. Gojo fits the archetype of the overpowered character / mentor, similar to someone like All Might from My Hero Academia. But with Gojo, while he has all the power in the world, unlike All Might, he can't really use it to its fullest to enact what he desires. The rest of the cast is amazing as well. Our main character Itadori Yuji's story is really dynamic and one of the more tragic ones I've seen or read so far, which fits with the overall raw and dark tone the series takes. Megumi, my favorite character in the series, is probably one of the best deuteragonists shonen that I've seen recently, as the way he challenges Yuji's philosophy along with his own personal philosophy just hits different. The series also has a good amount of strong and well developed female characters like Nobara and Maki, who I did a video on breaking down her journey. The villains as well are great to see too. Geto, Jogo, and Mahito are the top dogs to me. Of course, I can't forget about the badass king of Dills, Toji. But personally, Geto is my favorite out of the villains so far, as seeing his journey towards becoming a villain felt real to me. His philosophy reminds me of someone like Magneto in a way, but dialed up to 11. Now, the other big thing I want to talk about with Jujutsu Kaisen is that I love the fights. First, I want to quickly go over the power system of Cursed Energy, what I think about it. Cursed Energy is an amazing power system in my opinion. It's pretty simple and easy to follow, but allows for a wide variety of interesting techniques and battles that fit each character and their philosophy really well. This, alongside the gorgeous choreography and paneling done by Akutami, really excites me every time we got a battle going down. As of now, I'd say Jujutsu Kaisen, which seems to be wrapping up relatively soon, has the makings of moving up higher on my list, and I highly recommend both the anime and manga if you haven't started them. Next up at number 4, we have Tokyo Revengers. Now, let me get this out of the way. Takemichi, in my opinion, is one of the best protagonists to appear in shonen for some time. I've seen the slander he gets online, but I don't really care. I think he's truly amazing. Takemichi's drive to protect his friends no matter what is good on its own, but the way it's executed is great. Unlike many other protagonists, he's not strong whatsoever, and I mean he gets his ass kicked a lot. But he makes up for it with his heart and determination. He's the perfect showcase for the theme of the series, which is that true strength comes from within and even outmatches any sort of physical strength. Aside from that, the story itself is really enjoyable to read. I was surprised by how dark it would get at times, but it's done really well and is balanced out with good comedy. Also, as a time travel manga, it's pretty good and not really complex enough for you to misunderstand things. The cast is also a good positive. Many of them, including the supporting characters, have fleshed out backstories and motivations that make you really care about them, sometimes even more than Takemichi himself. My favorite characters are probably Draken and Mikey. Also, if you're into fashion, I gotta say this series is drippy as hell. Definitely give this one a read or watch the ongoing anime, and if you want to know more about my thoughts on Tokyo Revengers, check out my previous videos on the series. Number 3, we have Tokyo Ghoul. Now, this is just the original Tokyo Ghoul, as I just finished the manga for that and I haven't started Tokyo Ghoul Re yet. I want to start off by talking about the art in Tokyo Ghoul. I've got to say that the artwork is absolutely stunning. I'd go as far as to say it's the best on the list, and probably the best art I've ever seen in a manga so far. Ishida's art comes across very crude at times, while also being absolutely beautiful. The characters in their normal forms look great, but the ghouls and the agents in battle look amazing, especially with the use of the heavy inks. Now, as for the plot, I won't talk too much about it since I'm going to be dropping a video on Tokyo Ghoul probably very soon, but I really enjoy it. Essentially, you have the humans, along with humanoid beings known as ghouls residing in Tokyo, but in the conflict with each other, it's a battle of survival, and caught within the middle of this is our main character, King Kaneki. Kaneki is one of my favorite protagonists in manga and anime period, because of the dynamic and tragedy of his character, living in this awful world along with being a human-ghoul hybrid. The themes present in the story alongside him are great and pretty grounded as well. Now, some critiques I have for this series that keep it from being higher on the list mostly goes towards the cast. I mean, don't get me wrong, most of the cast is great and fleshed out pretty well, but there is a problem where they just disappear from the story and pop back up out of nowhere. For example, Toka, the main female protagonist and our love interest to the main character, just disappears from the story for what feels like forever, and we randomly see her again for like 1 or 2 chapters, just for her to not be seen again for another stretch of time. It made the importance of some characters feel a bit diminished, but this very well could be improved on a and I just don't know that yet. Overall, I would say that Tokyo Ghoul is an absolute classic in my opinion, and if it wasn't for the strong emotional connection I have for the next 2 on the list, it could easily be my number 1 favorite. Speaking of which, let's head into our top 2. Coming in at number 2, we have Kaguya-sama Love is War. Now, in case you've never heard of this series, let me tell you a bit about it. Kaguya-sama is a comedy romance seinen centered around 2 high schoolers in the student council, that being Kaguya and Miyuki, who are competing to see who will confess their love to the other. For this series, I actually started by watching the first 2 seasons of the anime first, and then went back and read the manga once I finished. This series definitely falls into the wholesome category for me, as the romance aspects, while just like the rest of the story is really funny, it's also really endearing to see blossom. The situations in which Kaguya and Miyuki get into are really ridiculous and sort of realistic, but incredibly fun at the same time. Now, if you're interested in who I think the best girl is, I'd probably go with Kaguya, but I really enjoy Hayasaka as well. All of the characters are really good, whether it's the council president, Chika, whoever else. Best boy, on the other hand, easily goes to the homie Ishigami. He might as well be the protagonist of the series, to be honest. He's so straightforward but over the top, and he's quite relatable to some of us guys out here. He single-handedly has the best story going on right now. Really, there isn't too much else to say. I'm still catching up on the series right now, but I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a great comedy or a romance series to enjoy that doesn't really go down the well of ecchi. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the top of the list. Here at number 1, we have the greatest manga I've ever read, Rent-a-Girlfriend. Nah, I'm just kidding. Here's the real number 1. At number 1, my favorite manga of all time is Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man honestly changed the way I felt about manga and the experience of reading it. The series made me laugh, cry, cringe, scream, and flooded me with so many thoughts and emotions, more so than any other manga or anime. Denji is hands down my favorite main character in manga, because of how I emotionally connected with and related to him throughout his story. Not in the hormone-driven young boy way, but his true core, the sense of indifference he has to the people around him, the loneliness and depression he constantly feels, and the dilemma of what he really wants in life. All of this caused me to truly feel whatever Denji felt. So when tragedies happened throughout the story, I felt them just as much as he did. And man, Chainsaw Man broke me several times throughout, and I'll never forget those moments. Denji's not the only character I enjoyed. Aki is amazing, Power's an absolute scene stealer every time she shows up, Kobeni and her car are the epitome of dark comedy, and Makima, without getting to spoilers, is just fantastic on so many levels. I absolutely love what they did with her. Now, the rough art style that Fujimoto uses is really fun and works great with the chaotic but exciting nonsense that is the fights contained in Chainsaw Man. The plot is pretty straightforward, but the real quality, in my opinion, comes from the characters and their growth. Overall, Chainsaw Man might not be the best visually, or even have the best writing, but nothing beats the emotional connection I have to the series, and that's why it's number 1 on my list. The best part for me is that I can look forward to the anime adaptation and part 2 of the manga coming soon. So, there you have it everyone. These are my top 5 manga right now. If you haven't checked out any of them, I highly recommend it. Now, tell me what your top 5 manga are in the comments down below. This has been the Devil Zero signing off, and until next time, have a great day, everyone.